Howdy, this is Matthew Pizgatti. Someone asked in a comment if I would make a video on Rex, or probably specifically Rex 2.0, as it should really be known. Because I've mentioned it a few times, and so I thought, yeah, why not? I'm not an expert on it, but I'll cover everything I know. I've been following the Telegram chats a good bit. And then there is a basic white paper out, which I believe is still to be updated. Hopefully in the couple upcoming weeks here. So I think the first obvious question, or probably the first two obvious questions, are essentially, why is it Rex 2.0? What happened to 1.0? And then additionally, if there is a second version and something happened to the first, why would we consider throwing any money at it or investing? And obviously, this is not financial advice for you guys. This is just my ramblings and random thoughts here on the topic. But from what I understand, Rex 1.0 had some type of bug or issue with the code. If you're more familiar with it, please let me know in the comments or explain for others so that we're a little more informed. But there was some type of issue, and people did lose investments. They did lose funds that they had thrown in. So that's the long and the short of it. That's as much as I know about Rex 1.0, except that it was a staking platform, and 2.0 is very similar. Now on to why we might still invest in this second version, in the 2.0. If I were to throw some thoughts out there as to why I would still be interested, one thing that I find incredibly unique that I've not seen previously or heard about, even in my short amount of time here in the crypto sphere, or just heard about from others who have been into this for a while, is that they are actually, and by they I mean the developers of Rex, they're actually going back through the transactions and calculating. I'm sure they're taking many variables into account, but they are calculating from a snapshot that I think was back in November, somewhere around there. They're taking a snapshot from Rex 1.0, and then they're actually going to be, after launch of Rex 2.0, they're going to be airdropping those amounts, not only of the Rex token, but also of BUSD, which, as you know, is a stable link to the US dollar. So that's really impressive and incredibly generous. If I remember from the Telegram chat seeing some messages pass by, they had like 10 million something set aside for that, which is just insane to me, like incredibly generous. Obviously, in the normal consumer market sphere, what you might say is amazing customer service. I mean, just incredible generosity, even if the first project did have some issue and that caused someone to lose money. I mean, what a way to build trust as far as a developer goes. And I think it's pretty rare in this corner of what would you call it, of the crypto sphere in general, the DeFi tokens. So that's all pretty impressive to me. Additionally, they were slated for launch of this new protocol website on 2/22, which is actually today when I'm recording this. So this is something that does give me more faith in the project, is that they weren't quite ready. There were some delays in development, and they're actually taking that delay and spending some time to fix those issues before launching. So that's something else that gives me a little more confidence. Obviously, I don't have any money in Rex 1.0. I didn't, so I don't have any stake in the whole protocol, or I'm not biased either way. I'm not certain that I'll throw money at it when it launches. I may have some at that time, depending on how long they delay. And if I do have some extra, I might consider it. But there's a lot new launching with the Animal Farm drip ecosystem, and that's mostly where I am right now. But on to what Rex actually is. This is the white paper that's part of 2.0. I'm sure it'll be revised later on. If you're familiar with Hex, Hex is supposed to be a similar staking protocol where it's as this white paper shows here, it's similar to a certificate of deposit. So you are staking your tokens for a set period of time. They are time locked, and the way most of these work is you can choose the amount of time that it's locked for, and then you get bonus percentages, bonus rewards or interest the longer that you choose for that time lock. So you're taking that extra risk of not being able to get at your that certain amount of tokens for that amount of time, but you do get the exchange of higher rewards. So something a little different here as well, and I guess this is different from Hex, is that you can name your stakes. So if you're placing multiple stakes on the contract, that'll help you kind of keep track of what's what. You can actually withdraw interest at any time. So as these are accruing interest, say, throughout the year, if you've time locked for a year, you could also withdraw that interest at any time, although your principal would still be locked. And I assume that this would also reduce the amount of percentage rewards that you are getting, because my assumption here is that those rewards, that the interest that you're accruing over time, is likely compounding back into the principal. So that would be the negative if you withdraw along the way. I'm not certain on that, but that was my assumption. The active stakes can also be transferred, so you could send these to another address that you had, or if you were using them to maybe exchange or purchase something from another individual, or if you just wanted to send one to a friend or family member, you could do that, and then there'll be a native decentralized exchange where you could sell your stake as well. You know, maybe you have a year-long stake, you don't really want to wait that long, somebody else does, and they may purchase it from you at a reduced cost. And so some of these almost become like similar to options trading, where they're purchasing the right to that amount of tokens and to cash it in at the end of that year period. But now they're kind of assuming the risk of, will it actually have accumulated in value, appreciated in value or not. And then the interest rates can be boosted with supportive tokens. So in addition to the REX token, there's also a TREX token and an MREX token. And just to give you a quick overview, we'll click through the white paper for those pages as well. There's some good disclaimers in here regarding doing your own research. Always a good idea to reiterate that. So when this first launches, there will be an auction period. And if nothing has changed since I last read this or saw the telegram, that auction period will be 222 days. So once a day, it'll work on a 24-hour period. So every day within the auction, you will put up funds, and I believe it's in BUSD, but don't quote me on that. And then at the end of that 24-hour period, the end of that day, the total amount of funds contributed into that auction will be tallied up, and then you'll receive your percentage of that daily supply of the REX token based on how much you put up in your BUSD. And we'll look at the if I could speak, we'll look at the auction closer. But obviously, you'll have other ways to purchase directly if you just want to swap on PancakeSwap to get REX. Or you may get airdrops if you were part of REX Classic, REX 1.0. And if you want to take a look at this white paper, I will link the Twitter as well as this main links archive here, and you'll see the REX paper, REX 2.0 on Bitcoin Smart Chain pre-launch. The white paper has a lot of other good information, just kind of explaining how the inflation rate will work and how they're calculating that based on total supply and how many shares are staked. And there's some more explanations on the code and sustainability. So you might find some of that interesting to get more in depth on. And here we get into some of the boost tokens. So similar in a way to where holding drip, if you're in the drip faucet, you need to actually hold a certain amount of the B-Reap token in order to get any referral benefits if you are referring others. So similar to that, there are certain tokens you can have that help boost your experience or gain additional percent on your stakes. So T-Rex here, let's see what the benefits are. If you hold one or more T-Rex, you get 33.3% more shares when you're creating a stake. You can create irrevocable stakes, which is a different type of stake rather than the normal ones you have that you could cash out earlier if you needed to. And you have a higher limit on how much you can contribute to the auction every day during the auction period. So there's some benefits to T-Rex, and then the M-Rex. This one looks like it's mostly for referrals. It looks like you gain more Rex from the auctions if you have M-Rex, but then you get more referral rewards. You may need this to get referral rewards, period, it looks like. And then there's a benefit as far as the decentralized exchange if you're buying a stake. And then essentially, the way this works is you'll take your tokens, your Rex tokens, and you will stake those. The minimum amount of Rex tokens is very small. Minimum stake length is 7 days. Looks like the approximate 10 years is the maximum. And then, of course, the longer duration of the stake, we already said that just means you'll get more Rex in reward. When you first open it, it'll be pending until you have that whole rest of the day to think about it. And then they go to active. And then you'll have a penalty if you close it once it's active. Let's see if this explains more about the percentages. Yeah, they earn daily through the supply inflation, as well as from other stakes penalties. So if other people are cashing out earlier, if they are withdrawing or ending their stakes sooner than the time lock that they set, they'll have a penalty, and that will go into a pool that'll help pay out the rewards on the stakes. And the crypto space being so, I should say, volatile, it's likely that a number of people will be ending theirs early. They'll overcommit, especially in the beginning, I imagine. You get 5% more shares if you stake at least a year. There's a linear increase on that for every full year. So that's essentially the concept. The longer that you stake your tokens for, the higher percentage you'll get at the time of close. Yeah, so this is what I was mentioning earlier. Withdrawing the interest along the way does not affect the principal, but it does reduce the number of shares that the stake has going forward. So it'll earn less interest on that day and all the future days moving forward. So that's kind of a penalty if you want to take interest along the way. This program isn't really meant for that. It's made for long-term staking, and you should choose a time frame that you're comfortable with. Don't just choose a certain time period based on the percentage estimation. So you don't want to just base this on the percentage reward that you're looking at, but can I actually, or do I actually want to lock my funds up for that amount of time? And then once it matures, I believe you do have to claim this. Yeah, you have to claim this at least within 14 days after maturity, or you start being penalized 1% per week. Closing an active stake early, so this will be some information on how much you get penalized, which will be less and less the closer you get to the end. If you cancel it on day 2, you're going to lose almost all of your principal. Looks like they do allow you to split a stake. I'm guessing that won't be possible with the special type of stake that you're allowed to to place the irrevocable stake, but let's see if it mentions this down here. It can't be renamed, interest can't be withdrawn. Oh, yeah, so you can still split. So if you have T-Rex, you can create an irrevocable stake by naming it that. And that one can't be renamed, interest can't be withdrawn early, and it can't be ended early. But it may still be split or transferred. I almost think this would be, I'm trying to think of use cases for this. I suppose if you were gifting this to someone and you definitely didn't want them cashing it out early, that might be a possibility. You actually want them to get the full amount of reward and interest, and you were transferring it to a wallet for them. There's probably some other use cases for irrevocable stakes that I'm not thinking of. Let me know if you think of those. Yeah, and there's going to be a decentralized exchange, likely on the Rex website. So even though you've put up a stake, you've staked a certain amount of tokens, or someone else has, they'll be able to offer those, and you'll set your desired price. This is how much I'd like to get for it, and how long you're setting the offer for, and then someone could come by and buy that from you. And depending on how the penalties work out, depending on how early that stake is, it's possible that you may prefer to just go ahead and try to sell one rather than waiting for it to mature. Again, I can't think of every possible scenario or use case for some of these features, but they are features that allow flexibility so that it's not so rigid. You're not so stuck in what you can do. If you do need to get out early, or maybe you find some other strategy. You find a strategy of staking and selling them at certain prices. That may be your strategy here to gain extra income. So here's some more information about the auction phase. It's going to be 222 days, like I said. Minimum participation amount is 50, and then the most is 5,000. So day 1, day 2, day 100, whatever, you can throw in a minimum amount of 50, and then you'll get a relevant percentage of Rex token at the end of the day. And you can boost your maximum with T-Rex. And every day, the generated Rex are split amongst the users who sent BUSD to auction in direct proportion. But it does depend on the total amount available of Rex. And I think that changes per day of the auction. Here it is. Yeah, so on auction day 1, and this is the Rex supply. Then on auction day 2, and you can see the supply is dwindling, how much is available in the auction. And you're going to get a percentage of that based on how much BUSD you throw in. So after day 3, it decreases by 2.1 million Rex every day. So on the auction days, it's really going to depend on how many people are participating for one, and what amounts they're throwing in, and how much Rex total supply is available. That will determine how much Rex you end up with, which could be a big game changer. So there's going to be some variables there. If I had enough extra funds that I was going to throw into this, I think my strategy would probably not be all at the beginning or all at the end of the auction. I think I would probably try a couple different points. I would hit maybe day 1 or day 2, and then I'd go later in the time frame of the auction, maybe like day 20, 30. Now the total Rex supply available for the auction is dwindling, so I don't know about your returns towards the later point of the auction unless you have some of that T-Rex you're actually going to throw in like the maximum, a large amount. Because if you do that later on in the auction phase, I feel like you'd have a better chance of maybe getting a larger percentage. But of course, hopefully because the big players who have already bought theirs have already auctioned in early on so that they could stake early, because that's a great strategy, I would think. But the total supply of Rex dwindles as the auction phase progresses. The total amount of Rex available for the auction, I should say. You could still go to the Pancake Swap directly and purchase. So, you might find your best strategy there if you are going to invest into this. And I'm still not certain I am yet, but it does look very promising. We just have a similar program coming out as well from Forex, well, I think next Tuesday. From the Drip ecosystem, he's going to be launching Piggy Bank. Now, the pigs are a little pricey right now, especially because of all the new attention from the Piggy Bank opening up. But that being said, his project so far, with Drip Faucet and the Garden, have been lasting a while. And so if that drops first, I don't know, we might see a little less adoption for Rex than I imagine. So just have to play all that by ear and see what comes out first and what you're comfortable investing in if you decided to. Because Piggy Bank will actually be very similar to this as far as staking, but seeing some of the projects Forex put out so far may have added features or better features than even Rex. I'm not certain how that'll shake out yet. So this is talking about after the auction is over. So this is after that 222 days. Which, of course, at that point, if you wanted more Rex, you would just be using Pancake Swap or the decentralized exchange to buy a stake, I imagine. So this is also talking about big paydays here. And these are kind of random payouts, almost like a lottery. And it seemed the way that to be eligible for those, and we'll have to look a little further down, but to be eligible for that, you have to purchase through the auction. So you get your auction amount, and the next day you have to claim your auction one amount. You have to claim it the next day as a stake. So you can't claim it and just hold on to it. You have to claim it and immediately stake it. So you can't claim any liquid Rex from the auctions if you're going to be eligible for these big paydays, this bonus. So it's kind of a reward for not just taking the Rex and doing something else with it, but taking it and immediately staking it and time locking it. So if you do that, you'll be eligible for the big paydays. Here's some information about referrals. So you might want to read through that if you're going to be promoting this or sharing it with family and friends. But let's get down to that big payday just to, let's see. This is talking about Rex Classic. If you did have issues from Rex 1.0, they'll say you're going to have all the way through the end of the auction to claim your assigned amount from that. Again, that's pretty awesome for them from the standpoint of the developers doing that and giving people their money back. To me, it shows a commitment to actually create a project that does work. And they recognize that the first one didn't turn out how everyone would have liked. They could just take whatever money they had and split off into the horizon, but they're not doing that. Now, of course, knowing humans and psychology and all of that, that's not some instant proof to say, oh, these people are legitimate. Obviously, go with your gut, do your own research, yada, yada, on and on. But it is a good indication to me. It adds some weight in that corner that they may be more trustworthy than others because they could just disappear. But again, on the other side, you may want a second project and go through all this work to get even more investment because you know that showing those good faith moves would actually end up with more money in the next project, and you could still rug pull or do XYZ. So I'm not saying either way, but at least on my end, for my personal thoughts, I think it shows a lot of trustworthiness from the devs. So here's more about these random big personal days. They're just going to randomly select addresses every day. Anyone who's eligible, and then I believe they're going to distribute across those random addresses. Yeah, so if there's more than 50 eligible addresses, and then if the payout for any specific address would exceed 2%, then they're going to limit to 2%. Randomly picks eligible address and grants that address the right to claim back all of your invested BUSD, and then moves on to the next, so on until that pool is empty. So that's pretty impressive, and it gives you a good incentive to, after the auction, immediately when you get, after the auction day, the next day, immediately claim into a stake. Don't claim the Rex token directly as liquid Rex, but immediately stake it as you claim it, and you might be eligible for this big payday. And if you get that, you might have the right here to get all of your BUSD back. There is this limit here. They're saying if there's a couple addresses for any specific address in the eligible list, if it's more than 2% of the pool, you may not get your full BUSD back. But you still get a big chunk, and that's just free money, so why not? You can throw it back into Rex or anything else. It's kind of like a lottery, but just another incentive to immediately stake after you claim from the auction. And if you do get these big paydays, you do have to actually claim it. It's not just automatically going to stake or compound anywhere. But this white paper is pretty informative. If you want to know more about Rex, I would take a look at that. I would follow under the communities here, I would follow the Discord. The Discord has a lot of information, one of which is, there's a whole little channel there that I think says How to Rex, something like that. That's a good resource. And then, of course, all of the Telegram channels. I would hop in there and follow that if you're interested in this, if you're interested in investing in this project. I'm not going to tell you either way, not advice telling you what to do with your funds. Just my thoughts on the project as a whole. I think the devs are showing a lot of trustworthiness, as I've mentioned, with that payback after the failed first project. And again, I don't know what fully happened there, some type of bug it sounded like. But people did lose money. So I think that shows some trustworthiness. That's impressive to me. I haven't seen that in the crypto space. I think the staking protocol sounds promising. The rewards sound promising. I don't know about sustainability or how long it's made to last. Although, with these staking protocols, they're basically saying you could stake for 15 years or 20 years, some high amount if you wanted to. So they at least have that much faith in their own sustainability. You could read into that however you'd like. And then, of course, there's the consideration that the piggy bank is coming out this next Tuesday, so a week from today, based on Forex Shark's AMA today. That's what I got out of that. So that's something to consider. If you have free funds, where are you going to throw it? Do you want to wait for piggy bank and stay within the drip ecosystem with the garden and the animal farm and all of that? Or do you want to, diversify a little bit and throw some stakes this way? Or maybe both. Why not? So that's where I'm at with all of the Rex information. That's most of what I know. I would definitely follow the Telegram. I would follow the Discord and see what you think about it. All right, let me know in the comments if you have any further information, if there's something I've missed, or if you're an expert on Rex and I've said something completely incorrect. Please let me know, set me straight. I hope you all have a good night or a good day, whatever time you're watching this. Thank you.